morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to have a chat about Surging Sparks, and specifically, we need to have a chat about the fact that there's a bunch of EXs that we've seen, and a bunch of EXs that we haven't, and we need to talk about what is significant about these. Sound like a plan? Excellent. So, of course, we know at this stage that Surging Sparks is going to be made up of two Japanese sets. We are going to have Super Electric Breaker. That is a set which is currently being revealed at the moment. And we are going to have Paradise Dragona, which at this point has been fully revealed. It's out there. We know everything about it. I opened a couple of boxes on this channel the other day. We know everything. And that makes me happy. And we also have a press release about Surging Sparks. And this is important because the press release literally tells us very clearly which EXs we are getting. We are told unequivocally in the press release that Surging Sparks will contain 9 Tera Pokemon EX, all Stellar Tera for what it's worth, and 9 Pokemon EX, which is actually different to what it was when it was initially published. It was initially published as 8 Stellar Tera Pokemon and 9 Tera Pokemon, but looking at the press release today, it says 9, so I'm going to go ahead and believe that. So which ones do we know, and which ones are missing? Well, in terms of regular EXs, we know 5 out of 9, there are 4 missing. We know from Paradise Dragona that we are getting Black Kyurem, and for what it's worth, I really like Black Kyurem, because it's got an attack for free energy that will automatically paralyze any dragon Pokemon you attack. So that seems pretty gosh darn good to me. We've got ourselves a Latias EX, which to be fair is actually like genuinely brilliant, because Latias EX gives free retreat to any of your basic Pokemon, which is clearly redonkulously good. And we've got Archaladon, which is also a very good Pokemon that you should be paying attention to, because it's free energy 220 and then it doesn't have weakness next turn, which is, you know, pretty beefy and all of that. But then also, it's got an ability where when you evolve into it, you can take 2 basic metal from your discard pile and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. To your metal Pokemon in any way that you like. So that's kind of interesting, because you can essentially, I like this as a way to get itself rolling, but I don't like it as a way to get other Pokemon rolling. But it's still a Pokemon that basically turns into a single energy Pokemon, does 220, and then has 300 HP, no weakness. That seems good to me. So those are the regular EXs that we know about from Paradise Dragona. But we've seen a couple from Super Electric Breaker as well. We've seen Milotic, the most recent one we saw, which has an ability that says it takes no damage or effects from attacks of Tera Pokemon, which isn't going to be great against everything, but that seems like a very valuable card against certain matchups, or if we ever end up in a very Tera EX heavy format. And then we've got Slacking, which can't attack if your opponent doesn't have any EX or V in play. Basically, they've got to have an EX or V if you want to attack. But then 2 energy, 280, and discard 1 is a very powerful attack on a 340 HP Pokemon, ensuring to stage 2, but that's a lot. And that leaves 4 missing. Now, like I've said, I've seen the press release at one point said 8 Tera, now it says 9, but it's always been 9 regular EX, so we know we're missing 4 of these. Now, as it stands, we've seen 5 of the 8 EXs from Super Electric Breaker. We can have a look at, for instance, Mask of Change. Mask of Change is a single main set over in Japan. Single main sets have 8 EXs. We've got mini sets like Paradise Dragona, and then we've got our main sets, which sometimes are double sets, sometimes are single. Single main sets in Japan, they always have 8 EXs. We can be pretty clear about this. We can feel pretty confident that that's going to be a thing. Excellent. That makes me happy. So we know there's some missing. There's 4 coming. But remember, we have promo EXs. which are in our set sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And we've had some EXs that have been released in Japan that haven't been released over here. So, for instance, as it stands at the moment, we haven't seen Veluza EX. That could end up being in there. By the way, I'm going oldest to newest, so the further I get in this list, the more likely they are to be coming. We've seen Kilowattrel EX, which has yet to actually be released for us. So that one could be coming in here. We've not yet seen Flamigo EX. So yes, we've got some still coming from Super Electric Breaker, don't get me wrong. But we've also got some promos, which could be coming around here. The last gym promo before them was actually Garganacl EX. But of course that was included in Stellar Crown, so that is not one on which we are still waiting. Garganacl has been released, but we are still waiting on, in this order from oldest to newest, Flamigo, Kilowattrel, Veluza. So I think if Flamigo, we're either going to see it as a promo, or it is going to pop up very, very soon in our set. In terms of Tera EXs, from Paradise Dragona, we have seen Flygon, which is, single energy 130 switch to the bench, or free energy 100 to all of your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V. I cannot be the only one that thinks that's pretty good. We've seen Alolan Executor, which has a really nice attack. Well, firstly, you can do 150 and attach any basic to your Pokemon in any way you like, basic energy from your hand. Or free energy, flip a coin. If heads, KO your opponent's active if it's a basic. If tails, KO one of their bench basic. Against all basic decks, that's absolutely absurd. And then we've also got ourselves Cyclizar, which was the last one to be revealed. And Cyclizar has got, free energy 180, draw 5 cards if you want to, which I think sounds pretty good as well. Then we just saw from Super Electric Breaker, there's a new trio including Pikachu, which does genuinely look awesome. I think Pikachu looks great. The ability says if it's got full HP and would be KO'd by damage from an attack, you go down to 10 instead. No flipping a coin, none of that. You just go to 10 HP remaining, which is absurdly good, incidentally. And then we got free energy, 300. Sure, you have to discard all the energy, but 300 damage is massive, so I do think that could be a really good Pokemon. We've also seen Hydreigon, that for 2 energy does 200 and discards the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, or for 4 energy does 130 to the active and to 2 of your opponent's bench, which sounds pretty gosh darn good. And then Tatsugiri, that 2 energy 100 goes to any effects, or free energy, look at the top 10 cards of your deck and bench any Pokemon you find there. And it doesn't say basic or any of that. Any Pokemon can be benched. So right now, we know 5 of the 9 regular EXs, and we know 6 of the 9 Tera EXs, which could end up being 6 out of 8. But of course, at this stage, some of you will have noticed there's a couple of really obvious ones that we know we're getting that I've left out, and that is Sylveon and Ceruledge from the EX decks. We know these are coming, incidentally, because we were told in the press release there are 8 A-Specs. Well, there's 3 in Paradise Dragona, there's 3 in Super Electric Breaker. That leaves 2 of them, but obviously there was 1 in the Ceruledge deck and 1 in the Sylveon deck, both which are pretty good, incidentally. So that means that the A-Specs from the Sylveon and Ceruledge deck are coming. So I think that means that we can expect those 2 EXs to be coming in as well. And actually, Ceruledge, single energy 30 damage, plus 20 damage for each energy in your discard pile. That can add up very quickly. Ceruledge is seeing a bunch of play in Japan right now. Ceruledge is legit. It's a very good card. Sylveon, not quite so good, but you do have a really nice attack that lets you choose 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon and shuffle them back into your opponent's deck, but you cannot use it 2 turns in a row, unfortunately. Would be great if you could, but it would also be, well, frankly, too good, ladies and gentlemen. It would be a little bit too good. So they're both coming as well. So actually, we know 8 Tera EXs out of potentially 9. And it does seem to be 9. That was the latest we saw on the press release. And we know 5 of the 9 regular EXs. But that still actually leaves 5 missing. 1 Tera and 4 regular. With only 3 left to be revealed from Super Electric Breaker. Again, we can be very sure there are 3 more coming. But this is where we start looking at things like the gym promos. We could have a couple of them. There could be some other promos at some point that we end up getting. So it seems like we've largely figured it out here. Like I say, there's still 3 more that we are waiting for from Super Electric Breaker. Presumably that will have the last Tera, because there's no promo Tera Pokemon that I can think of that we're missing. And then we'll also have ourselves 2 more regular, which would give a 4-4 split, which would make a nice symmetrical split. And then we presumably fill up the rest with some of these gym promos, etc. So there we go. That's what we know about the EXs from Surging Sparks. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these cards you are looking forward to. Tell me which you're going to be building around. Tell me which of the remaining EXs you would like to be which particular Pokemon. Tell me what you're dreaming of. Go nuts in the comment section. But be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And of course get shoutouts on the channel, like the lovely Dojo, who's been a very lovely person, been supporting us, so shout out to them for the loveliness and the support. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.